Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Community Works' Healing Dialogues. Harlem is Healing. My name is Deirdre Hollman, and I'm very proud to be your host for this episode. Harlem is Healing is a program of Community Works and New Heritage Theater Group. It began in 2020 to highlight contributions of 50 community members responding to the pandemic and its disproportionate impact on Harlem and the communities of color that surround it. Over 2 years, this project has been going on, and the original impetus was to respond to the crisis of the moment and to look for people and places that were healing the community, reviving it, investing their time and energy, and making sure that the community is safe, healthy, and that justice can be sought. Today, in 2022, the journey of healing Harlem continues with issues such as social justice, voting rights, and community policing to be considered. All of these things under the umbrella of our very fragile democracy itself. So in the end, we're here still looking to our community leaders who really are the strength of society and seeking to learn from them about how we can heal our communities. Today, I'm very proud to be here with Dietrice Bolden, whose bold name matches her bold personality. She's the managing director of Impact Repertory Theater, a division of New Heritage Group. Dietrice, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm always excited to be with you, Deirdre. You know, our relationship goes way back.
Way back to when we were much younger.
Yes.
But I love that about our stories, and we'll get to that. I want to open with your general reflections on Harlem as an entity, Harlem as a mythology, Harlem as this magical place where we live and work. What is Harlem to you?
Oh, Harlem to me, that is a mouthful to say the least. I am a girl who was born and half raised in the Bronx. And this is why I say half raised, because all of my life was in Harlem. I went to school in Harlem, church in Harlem. The majority of my family was in Harlem. So Harlem is my heart, which is one of the reasons why I pour into it so much, because the people of Harlem poured into me, you know, helping to create the person I am today without programs like City Mission Society and Menacing Townhouse and the Kennedy Center and Impact Repertory Theater. I was fortunate enough to come through the company as a young person. So I've been around Impact since its inception in 1997. So Harlem is part of most of the crayons in my crayon box. It has colored the portrait of this life here.
Ooh. And the poet, Dietrice Bolden. Deirdre, so tell me a little bit about your upbringing then as a young woman. Where are the places and spaces that you moved through in Harlem, and how did they shape you, particularly your career in the performing arts?
Well, I can't say anything about my life without mentioning church. And my church is the New Mount Zion Baptist Church right here in the heart of Harlem. Reverend Dr. Carl L. Washington Jr. So that was my first step into Harlem, going to church with my family, singing on the children's choir in church was the first place the microphone was placed in my hand. So that's where my love for music came from church and my family. My mom sang, my grandma sang, my family sings. Mm-hmm. So that was my introduction into the music world. And then Menacing Townhouse. Through Menacing Townhouse, I was introduced to Impact Repertory Theater with the brilliance of Vosa Rivers and Jamal Joseph and the other founders, Joyce Joseph, Alice Arlen, Courtney Bennett, and Raymond S. Johnson. Those are all names that are pillars in my life. I stand on their shoulders. They poured into me, which is the reason why I have the creative direction that I have today. Anything that I do, whether I'm on the stage performing, that's Jamal. If I'm behind the scenes on the stage, that's Voza. If I'm on a film set, that's Jamal. So if it wasn't for them pouring into me and teaching me and letting me follow them around, I would not be here today. So through Impact, that was my training. I did go to the Girls Choir of Harlem. I went to Choir Academy. I was in the Girls Choir of Harlem, and they, of course, helped perfect this voice. But through Impact, it helped make me the person I am today. Step from out of myself, try new things. I was just into singing, and through Impact, I know I've done off Broadway now because of the push of Jamal Joseph. So that's how Harlem poured into me. Also, Menacing Townhouse. I am a soror of the Phoenix Sorority, which is the sisterhood of the Order of the Feather Fraternity, founded in Menacing Townhouse through Menacing Spirit. One of my greatest joys as a young person was going away to camp. And all of that happened through City Mission Society and Menacing Townhouse. So Menacing played a very core part of my life in meeting my best friends that I still have to this day, 25 years later. So that's my Harlem story.
Your story growing up in Harlem really ties into the history of Harlem's commitment to youth development, right? All the spaces that you've moved through are, a real representation of how community members have invested their time, their money, their energy, and created spaces for youth to come into these spaces to learn and develop them. And so tell me how that lineage is a part of your work now as managing director of Impact Repertory Theater, which is a part of that great history.
Yes, so Impact Repertory Theater is an arts and leadership training program that caters to the needs of young people between the ages of 12, we say, and 18. We have taken in younger students. As long as you're focused and you're all about learning in the arts, just bring your kids. That's always been our motto. Impact has what we call the safe space. So young people feel free to try new things and not afraid to speak their mind. It is a parent-free zone. That way the kids do not feel intimidated. All of our material is inspired and written by our young people, and that's from spoken word, all of the choreography, even down to the music and lyric. So those are the ways that we help the young people express themselves artistically. And through the leadership training classes that we have, whether we're talking about climate change or if we're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, gun violence, whatever it is, through those workshops is how we create our material. We go into a writing session, we start a sound circle, and all of this stuff is learned through Impact's Bootcamp, which is a 12 to 16 week program that every young person goes through, learning the Impact way, our history. Our founder, Jamal Joseph, was part of the Black Panther 21. And so we have a very artivist way of doing things, which is our way of saying combining the arts and activism is artivism. So that is how we push and move the children forward, making sure they know that it's okay to speak their mind, and express themselves in an artistic way, keeping them off the streets, keeping them active. That's one way we can make sure that we guide our young people in the right way. That's what was poured into me. That's one thing I'm very grateful about Impact. Like I said, yes, Choir Academy did train my voice, but Impact is where I became the person that I am today, to have the strength. I had role models like Joyce Joseph and Arliss Allen and Irene Gandy, Donna Walker Kuhn. All of these women were put into my life. Barbara Horowitz. I got to grow up around these women and see these women in action and inspired to become them. And so that's part of the lineage of Harlem and Impact and how we get the young people. Also, we do community service. Each member has to have 25 hours of community service a month. We do street cleanups, we paint parks, go into senior citizen homes, go into youth developments. We have to teach our young people how to give back to their community. It's a very grassroots organization. And yeah.
That's fantastic. Tell me what IMPACT stands for, the acronym.
So impact stands for inspiration, motivation, preparation, activism, commitments, and teamwork. And we do have a motto that we live by. We are youth activists who view the creative arts and leadership training as a way to develop ourselves and change the world in a positive way. We believe that we must be the message that we bring through hard work, focus, discipline, unity, and the principles of SOS, which is safe space, outstanding effort, and service to our family, friends, and community.
Fantastic. How does that ethos, or how did that ethos, those core values, get you and the youth of Impact through the pandemic? What did you see in terms of the impact of being quarantined and out of school, and kind of all the disillusionment of the early part of the pandemic, and then slowly as it evolved? How did you see your students adapting?
So at the beginning of the pandemic, it was one of the hardest things for us because Impact is just not a program, it's family. So getting to see each other 2 to 3 times a week, we met every Saturday from 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. or until we tried to kick the last child out, so we had to go totally virtual. So when going virtual, trying to find ways to teach workshops and just to fellowship, because after a while, we noticed a real change in our young people mentally. The stress of not being able to go to school, be around their peers. You never know what a young person is going through at home. So now they are quarantined into a non-safe space, and it took a lot out of the instructors because we've become very close with our young people, and not just the young people, but the families attached to them, So one thing we did for our young people is we created a forum, just not for the young people of Impact, but for their friends. We invited schools, other educators, and we did virtual forums online through Zoom. And a lot of our alumni who have graduated, who are now doctors and teachers in their own rights, professors, deans of school, they joined into that virtual world as well. And we began to make some connections with some mentors and people that the young people can talk to on their own if they just needed to make a phone call. And it was very emotional. The first time we did the workshop, it was supposed to be an hour, hour and a half maybe. We were on Zoom for 4 hours. Young people, parents crying, pouring out how stressful it is at school, because a lot of students, it's hard for them to learn online. So grades were dropping, and that became depressing, especially for my juniors and seniors who are now looking into college and they want to keep their grades up. So it took a toll on them. So one thing that we did as the city was semi-opening and we could do some community service, we partnered with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce and the Salvation Army and Salem United Methodist Church. And we started giving away not just pantry items, but at Salem, they did hot meals and preparations and giving out to the less fortunate. And at that moment, we were all less fortunate. I was very, very grateful for those pantry bags. You remember standing on the supermarket lines that were wrapping around the corner.
That's right.
And so we went to our safe space, which was on 135th Street between 7th and 8th Avenues, and we started handing out food and just encouraging one another. We couldn't spend that much time together because the pandemic rules were very high at that time. Right. But we did our best in encouraging one another and handing out food. And then as the world started opening up, we started doing some outside performances just to put some positivity in the air. One thing we did was when it was voting time, we did our Rights Act performance right there in Central Park and just opened it up to the community, encouraging people to go out and vote. We were just happy to see one another, sing together, touch one another. We still had to keep that 6 feet distance and going into the park and marking up the park. So we were in the rules of the city, but that community service and that outreach and knowing that even in the pandemic, we were still making a difference, even if it was a small one, and I was very grateful for that.
I think that's a lovely story because, you're not just creating a community at impact that serves itself, right? It's a community that can rely on each other when times are tough, but also a community that can hold up the larger community and inspire it and bring performances and music. I know anybody who was in earshot of, Impact's performance gets lifted. I know I always do, I think.
Oh, thank you. I think that's what we need.
And how are the young people faring now? How are you seeing any evolution, hopefully progress in terms of mental health? I know it continues to be.
It does. It continues to be heavy. It continues to be an issue. And we are doing our best to help our young people and their parents find counseling, being locked together in a house. You get to know each other very well. And, and sometimes it's for the good and sometimes it's for the bad. So some of our young people and parents have reached out to us for resources. And luckily we have those partnerships and relationships so we can point them in the right direction. Schools being back open really helps, so now they're back into community. They are being able to go back into their colleges and higher levels of education. So that was good, being able to go back on college tours. Some of the school field trips are now opening again. So that's a good thing, but we still need to focus on the mental health of our young people. And in another capacity that I sit on the board of directors for Harlem Week. So during our children's festival, we're going to have these mommy moments and moments with the young people and creating our theme, I am peace, and how to be peace to yourself and the people around you, meditation methods, things to get you out of your head so you don't slip into a depression, because it's hard for adults. So imagine how it is for a young person. And we have to understand that's some of the reason why our young people started acting out in the way that they did. And I actually had a conversation earlier this week about how we speak to our young people and communicate with our young people, especially acting out after the pandemic. We have a lot of young people walking around with PTSD. They don't even know what that is, but they have it. So we need to recognize these things and treat them accordingly. We can't just lash out at them. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. They're going to rebel and act out in a way that we don't want them to. So we have to start that positive reinforcement, that positive brainwashing, which I call at impact, just to make sure we keep our young people level.
And I know all of that great work, because I know what it is to pour into young people in that way. I know that great work is really important now when you consider the racial climate of our society at large. I think in our country, coming off of the terrible mass killings in Buffalo this past week, and it breaks my heart to even name to go down a list of examples of racial conflict and racial tragedy. I wonder how you're seeing young people grapple with the racial climate in America today. I think it's definitely tied to our political culture, which is very fragile. Full of a lot of gaslighting. It's like talk about cap and no cap. We can really we can talk about it. So what are the conversations you all are having, and where are you finding the youth's voice? Where is it landing?
So I tell the difference when it comes to our music. You can always tell where our young people's head at when we start getting new material in and they want to try new stuff. So during all of the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement, our young people were very active in the walks and the marches that the state office building downtown at City Hall. Jamal actually gave a speech down at City Hall, and you know how Impact does. We do an impromptu performance right in the middle of the street with one of our hardest songs. So the young people have rewritten a song that we do called Politics, which when they discuss how they feel about the politics and how they feel about all the shootings and everything that's going on, the lyrics have become much more hard, much more real. Impact does have those happy, fluffy songs and stuff, happiness and, family tree, but then we have politics, we have guns, we have a piece called Frankenstein, because Frankenstein made a monster, but what is society making our young people, So it's getting better though. In their mindset, because they're understanding and we're talking about it more. I'm not saying it's getting better in the world, because we are still shooting one another. There are still killings going on for no reason. You want to even now, there's too many brown people. My heart broke so much when I heard that was the statement being made. And our young people, of course, they come together even without us. They get on Zoom, or they get on our Facebook page, and they just start talking and discussing, what's going on and what can they do to help make a difference. A lot of our young people started their own podcasts, and became influencers on social media through Instagram and stuff, and just starting their own forums. So during this time, our young people have become a little bit more independent, when it goes out to, getting their point across and making that change, and just discussing and letting people know how they feel about what's going on in the world and community around them.
Great. And so I know your song Politics and a few other songs. Tell me about just briefly what it is to craft songs, because there's poetry, there's musicality, there's the performance, choreography, all of it in your work. I don't know if you want to say a bit about the performing arts, I guess, as a whole, mm-hmm. and how it's a tool for social and emotional healing.
So I know exactly what you mean. So again, that's why we do the leadership training workshops. So we start the conversation. So for example, when we did politics, we started talking about the police brutality and everything that was going on. Politics is actually, like I said, we redid it. We did the music and stuff as well. So it's a remix. We call it the remix, to incorporate the things that's happening now when we mention Mr. Floyd and Sandra Bland and all of those terrible things that have happened, and also connecting them to our past, because, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, that philosophy still lives within us today. So, we never forget about where we've come from. We always keep our history deeply rooted in our material. So we had a workshop where we just sat down and spoke and had open conversations. And after those conversations, the young people then go into a writing session. We play music in the background, just to create an atmosphere, and they go into a writing session, they pour out. We say it doesn't need to rhyme, make sense, whatever it is that you need to get down on paper, let's do that. And then we go around the room and we share. Like I said, we have a safe space, and everyone knows it's a judgment-free zone. And that's one reason why we can create the music that we do. Now, going into the music, we have something called the sound circle. And in our sound circle, we get together and we just start making sounds with our bodies and with our mouths, creating rhythms, creating beats. Our music director, Charles Mack, is amazing at turning those things into beautiful key melodies. I don't know how he does it. It's a blessing. And we have other people in our lives, Jordan Baptiste, who is another great producer who has helped impact along the way, and many, many more. And so we take those melodies and we create songs. Now, something that's funny is we can go in and say, we need to create a nice up-tempo song. We need something to dance to. And at the end of the session, we have a slow ballad that makes you want to cry. So it just where the music leads you, we never really end up with the product we actually, went in there to try to do. So that's how we go into our creative mode. We collect all of the young people's words and stuff and staff and Impact Vibe, which is the adult and alumni entity of Impact. All of us who went away to school and came back and, just are older, we still get together, we still perform, and we put those words together, and the music is written by Impact. There's never an individual writer, because we write the songs as a community. And that's how we come up with our music. And the choreography, the young people are amazing. I have one of the best directors of choreography. Her name is Nicole AC. She's actually an Impact alumni who has come back to give her time and talent into the company that poured into her. That's another great thing I love about Impact. All of the staff are Impact alum. We all came up through the program, all went to school, came back, and pouring back into the company in a special way. So that's how we come up with our material.
That's fantastic. What's on the forecast for impact in the work that you're doing this year into next year?
So right now, well, it's graduation season. So let me start there. We have a program called Impact Rep College Prep, which was actually proposed and implemented by Impact alumni as Jordan Isler, who came and saw the need for us to have a program to help the young people with the college application process, from FAFSA, college tours, you name it, taking the SAT, speaking to parents, how to fill out the applications. So we're culminating Impact Rep College Prep, and all of the young people who are going to school, making sure they have scholarships and doing all that stuff, and getting ready for the summer performances and our summer programming, which will take place out of the Kennedy Center this year, in partnership with the Kennedy Center and Catholic Charities. Very excited to get some new young people out there. So this summer, of course, we'll be performing for Harlem Week, and I am excited and enthused to say we'll have a performance in Marcus Garvey Park with the Last Poets. Wow. Yes, The Last Poets, and that's going to be on August 18th. I am so excited. A great friend and loved one, Mr. Felipe Luciano, will be in attendance. Yeah. And I'm excited for the young people to see where our style came from. The Last Poets poured into Impact's just creation. That's how, our spoken word aspect of it. So I'm excited for that to happen. We'll also be performing with Harlem's Bomb Shelter, which is another partner of New Heritage Theater, also created by Impact alumni. Wow. With the Deirdre Isler. They just celebrated 10 years of the Harlem Bomb Shelter, and that's full of a lot of Impact alumni and brilliant poets and spoken word artists. So I'm excited for that. We're going into our anniversary season, so 25 years, and we are excited. So we're planning new material. We're just in a writing session. We are creating our Harlem Is dedication, which I know is exciting for the Community Works family as well. Bringing Harlem Is back, that'll be our culminating video for the year, and hopefully we want to do that in partnership with our Japanese and South African friends and family, and it's all about unity. So that's what's on the horizon for Impact this year, and just intaking new young people.
It's fantastic. It's a lot. It's a big plate. It's a big plate of activities and performances. It sounds like, hopefully, we're all hoping to be kind of at full capacity. Yes. Going into the summer and fall this year.
Yes, but if you are unable to come out to Harlem Week or to any of the performances, it will be virtual as well, so you'll be able to see it online. But yes, I am so ready to be outside, masked up and everything, but ready for some fresh air and to, be in community and fellowship with one another.
I just want to dip to the left for a second, because you mentioned Felipe Luciano and Abiodun Oyewole from The Last Poets, and Brother Umar. I wonder, these are like Harlem legends. They're like the big fat oak trees, or what have you, whatever tree is big and fat of our community, and folks who have contributed to the sound, the look, the intelligence, the cadence of our culture, and who are still out there doing it. These guys are like beyond seniors. They're like icons, as they say. They're icons. So I wonder who in Harlem history you draw in inspiration from? Are there folks like that who inspire you, Deitrice?
Personally, so Ruby D played an influential part in my life. She actually was a friend of Vosa Rivers. So Vosa has brought a lot of brilliant people into my life that has poured into me. She was actually at the first off-Broadway show I did with Daniel Beatty at Riverside Church, Tearing Down the Walls. Then I have people like Mr. Harry Belafonte, who is actually our honorary chair of the board for Impact Repertory Theater. We are always blessed and honored to perform for his birthday every year. He came and met the young people years ago, and it was just a pleasure to be able to share that with the young people and for them to sit and listen to him speak. Listening to him tell a story is just simply amazing. That I have a Fanny Shakur, who was also an influence in my life, through Jamal Joseph. She was also part of the Panther 21. We worked on a lot of Tupac projects and Pac's kids with them down in Atlanta. So she was another mentor of mine. Again, Jamal and Voza, they've poured into me. Irene Gandy poured into me. Lloyd Williams, president of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. All of these people just really opened doors. And I am just forever grateful. Lorna Myers, director of the Girls Choir of Harlem, one of the best choir directors ever. A great moment was when she came to actually see Impact perform at the American Museum of Natural History, and she was in awe. And I'm like, this is the person who taught me how to teach young people, who poured into me. So those are my influencers. And of course, my mother, who was born and raised in Harlem, that she is my backbone, my anchor, my everything, my queen bee. Everyone knows how much I love my mom. My mom was an original Marian Anderson singer, and she traveled overseas with Black Nativity with Alvin Ailey as a soprano singer. So I walk in her footsteps, basically. So she's my top influencer.
So all of this creativity is not just in the air for you. It's like in your blood, literally.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And even those who you're inspired by, I think, as famous as they are for the work they did, I think they're equally famous to the community for being a part of the groundwork, being a part of, the fabric that keeps us.
And again, they came, spent days with Impact. These were not just one stop bys. No, they've done workshops with us, me as a child and the young people now, so I forever grateful for what they've done.
So how does that translate into your own kind of aspirations? It could involve impact. It's like including impact and beyond. What's your hope for Harlem, and how do you want to continue to contribute to Harlem's healing?
Well, my hope for Harlem is to come together as a community. Unfortunately, there has been a whole lot of gun violence in our community. We've lost great police officers who have served in this community. We have lost young people who didn't even hit the age of 25 because of gun violence. So one of the things I want to see is for Harlem to heal is to stop all this gun violence. We are doing an anti-gun violence walk this summer. We're doing a gun buyback this summer. Because one question we need to ask ourselves is, where are young people getting these guns from? Mm-hmm. We're not giving it to them. We're not bringing them in, So as a community, we need to start finding answers to these questions and stop them. For me, I just want to continue to pour into young people, continue to use the arts, always remember and focus on you're never too old to learn. I am learning to this day. I will never stop listening and taking in from our elders, putting our young people with elders. We do have our Ruby Deep project where our young people and our elderly people come together and learn from one another. We go into, like I said, the senior citizen homes and just talk to them, Again, a lot of this was prior to COVID. We haven't been able to do a lot of this recently, but trying to make those connections and keep the community going, because the thing is, there's such a divide between generations. And if we start bridging that gap, there'll be a lot more understanding, which will bring forth a lot more community. And especially through the arts, let's have some writing workshops together, let's have some sing-alongs together. Let's have some theater workshops for the theater games and building and all of that stuff. Again, that's how I got here, through with Jamal and Ray J, having those opportunities and bringing these people in to come work with us, and opening our eyes to certain things, and always ready to try new things. And I am still, even though I'm managing director of Impact and everything, I'm always ready to get on the stage, always ready to act. I just want to keep pouring out through the arts, and again, helping Harlem to heal and doing community service. We're still, pantries, the giveaway, partnering with a different organization. So any organization who wants to partner needs volunteers. Impact is here. That's just our way of life.
Terrific. So you said you're always ready to get on stage, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't close out without giving you a little challenge. So maybe you could drop some bars, share us a little verse, or you could sing us a little something to close. I just want to express how, I'm just proud of you. I'm impressed by you. You give me good energy. You give me life, because we're both committed to the uplift and the sustenance that's necessary to hold our young people to the task of becoming the full people, the full humans they deserve to be, and holding their hand through the struggle. So thank you for that work that you do, but you are more than that. You are a vessel. You are an artist. So can you share a little something with us?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Well, like I said, happy. I'm choosing today. I'm finally free. I'm changing my life, 'cause happiness is in me. It's gonna be all right. You don't have to worry. Joy comes with the light, and now I'm finally free. I'm happy 'cause I choose to be. I live a life that I wanna see. The past can't tell me who I'm going to be. I'm choosing today to be happy.
That's Dietrice Bolden, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Harlem Is Healing Dialogues. Dietrice, thank you so much.
Thank you. And like we always say at Impact, love one another, protect one another, watch each other's back, but above all, keep a positive thought, because a positive thought cannot be denied. Peace.
Amen. Peace.